Gary, how you doing?
Andrew, I'm okay. How are you doing?
Fantastic. But I'm on the edge of my seat tonight, Gary.
Oh, is it bothering you again?
Get a special cushion for those problems nowadays, Gary.
Do you get a cream for that? What's the edge of the seat? What's going on?
I don't know. I've just got that kind of technology gremlins kind of vibe going on in the mission control here for Paisley Community Chat Show.
Yeah, we still get issues.
Well, see, I played our wee intro clip there, and it sounded like someone had turned up the pace on it a little. It kind of went through it too fast. Tom Maguire and the brass holes getting played at 100% plus speed.
He doesn't need to go quicker, Andy.
He doesn't have.
No, he doesn't.
Oh my goodness!
So good evening, everyone. Good evening, our viewer. Welcome to Paisley Community Chat Show.
We've got one viewer in tonight. There's Norma. How we doing, Norma?
Hi, Moira.
Moira.
Private joke. That is a private joke.
I know. I spotted that.
Did you see that?
I did. Very funny. What was going on, Gary, with Moira? Good to see the Star. Where have the Star folk been, Gary, the past few weeks? We missed them.
They've obviously been really busy, but welcome back to the Star.
Troopers. Good to see you.
Bunch of troopers. Get that link.
They are indeed. So how's your week been, Gary?
I don't know. I'd see one show at the next, Andy. It just goes by because you say to me at the end of the Wednesday show, so what we got on next week? I don't know. then you get into a working week and you get to the weekend, and if it's raining, you stay in. If it's no raining, you go. So, but it's been all right. It's been okay. I've been keeping busy, Andy. There's things that we're doing just to keep ticking over. How you doing? Did you get out on your run earlier?
No, I didn't. I was doing some bits and pieces for the show tonight. But
what did you do? Couch to fridge?
I did the couch to chair.
Couch to chair. Well, that's an improvement.
There's an app for it. You can download it. Motivates you getting off the couch, getting a bit close to the chair, sitting back down again if it's too strenuous. But
I
never get out.
I've picked up an injury on this 23-week lockdown period, whatever you call it. I've not been exercising. I've been out on the bike a bit, but it's not a bike injury. It's just the side of my knees just kind of getting a bit sore. Maybe it's just my old age, Andy.
I was just going to say, Gary, is that not just old age?
Old age. I'd still get to play football tomorrow, though, if I get a game of five-a-sides.
Aye. Well, I'm hoping it's dry tomorrow because I'm a fair weather runner, and if it's chucking it down, I'm not really up for that, but I'm hoping it's dry tomorrow, Gary. I'll get out.
See if it starts raining halfway around. Depending on the severity of it, it's a good thing.
Just because you're an experienced runner, Gary. You've done all that stuff before.
Well, I wouldn't say experience, but one of the best things that can happen to you. The first time I did the Great North Run, half marathon, near the end, really, really sunny day. They've got these, it's almost a car wash tunnel. So you're running along, you see this thing in the distance, you go, oh, what's that? And you get closer and closer, and it's a car wash tunnel with a mist.
Right.
On the amount of folk just deviate, they're running right through it.
Pull you right down.
Oh, that's magnificent.
There's nobody in there with sponges or anything like that, Gary, no?
Wax. But there's folk, at the end of the Great North Run, there's folk trying to give you pints of lager. You get jelly babies. You get folk with a hose for their garden, right, hose you down, jelly babies, and then you get nearer the pubs and the folk are with a lager. You want a drink, mate? You're like, kind of, aye, but I'm still running.
It was, I think it was the London Marathon there through the week, and I know there was a lot of runners that were doing virtual London marathons. There were out, some folk in Paisley were doing that as well. Out and about.
I seen Heather following a guy around. Andy Heather for the Star Project was following a guy around. She ended up with a panda suit on.
We need to see photographic evidence. If you've got pictures of that, get them sent into the show. We'll get them on the big screen for all of you. But I know it's been a pretty busy week, Gary. I've started decorating the hall in earnest. I've not really get into it yet, but I'll get there.
Well, you get wood chip or the anaglipta?
No, there's no wood chip. Thank God. It just needs painted. But I'm doing a wee kind of bit of paneling and stuff like that as well. So we'll see how we go on.
Very nice.
Nothing exciting, Gary. To be quite honest, it's we're in that kind of strange period where we're waiting what the next set of measures are for COVID. I hope everyone is doing well. Of course, I hope you've been staying out of trouble and staying away and washing your hands and following all the appropriate guidance, folks.
Well, I've got to say, it's starting to do my nut in, Andy. I know it's important. I know we're keeping everyone safe.
Yep.
And it's a 23-week shift, Andy. We've been on. It's a pleasure for us to be on here, and an honour for us to be presenting to Paisley and Renfrewshire's public. But it's really, really hard going.
Got to keep the fight. Got to keep the fight up, Gary. But we've got a great audience tonight on as usual. If you're watching us on Facebook, folks, say hi. Let us know that you're watching, and don't be shy. If you want to come on program at any time, we can do that. But I do like Tony's style, and Tony's style is
yeah. Remember marathons?
I do.
Remember Spangles? Remember Spangles?
I remember Spangles. They were always the last to get eaten in the selection box, Gary.
Oh, didn't know that. Didn't know that was an official thing.
No, always last to get eaten. You would kind of thank your Maltesers or your Topics or what else were there? Obviously, you'd have your Mars bars and your Red, whatever, but your Spangles always the last.
Aye, Curly Wurly, Splicers, Lion Bar. Remember, we need to have an old Sweetie week.
as opposed to old Sweetie Wives week.
Sweetie Wives. We've got a few of them. Who's Paul again? Oh, there he's there.
Paul, there's our resident Sweetie Wife.
All of the Sweetie Wives. Yeah. No offence, meant Paul.
There's Mrs. Paul Stewart. Lynette, how you doing, Lynette? Yeah. Lynette, I'm not surprised that you used to like Spangles. Probably those horrible green ones were your favourites out of all of them.
Are they the ones that when you used to eat them, the middle used to fade away and they would slice half your tongue off?
Aye.
Yeah.
Aye. Oh, hold on a second. There's more. A lot's coming in. Opal fruits. Now, opal fruits were what have they called them?
Your mouth water.
Starbursts. They've changed the names of opal fruits.
We should get back to old money.
You reckon?
In fact, I think I seen as part of Boris Johnson's speech the other day. Did you see the Prime Minister's speech? He actually announced it. He said after Brexit we're going to go back to all the old sweetie names. So Snickers are going to be marathons.
Is that the way?
Tudor Gammon crisps are coming back. I think pickled onion. I think he announced pickled onion coming back. Bazooka Joe's. We're getting Bazooka Joe's back.
You used to get diabetes with the Bazooka Joe's, didn't you?
I was going to say, remember the diabetes?
Aye, I remember. Thanks very much. Cup of tea tonight. Aye, well, we had we were having a wee cup of tea last night, Gary. Me and the missus, and we thought there was no decent biscuits in the house, but there was Mars bars, so we decided to split a Mars bar between us.
Did you put it in the fridge and cut it?
Oh no, we just cut it out of the packet. But have you seen the size of a Mars bar recently? They're the size that Milky Ways used to be.
Really?
Aye, they're tiny.
You're getting old, Andy.
I know, but it's like it was tiny. It was like a Milky Way. It was a Mars bar.
Maybe you got it at the corner shop and it was one of the do not sell. This was part of a multi-pack.
It was actually part of a multi-pack.
Part of a multi-pack. Two for a. Can I have a single? Can you give me a single Mars bar?
A single Mars bar. I know. I just thought they're tiny. And wagon wheels. I mean, I remember growing up, wagon wheels used to be the size of actual wagon wheels. They used to be like that size.
They used to. You used to have to care to the cupboard.
So you were out and about yourself, Gary, this week, were you not? And you were taking pictures, some topical pictures of things that you see in shop windows.
Very topical. I found this, Andy, in a shop window.
Let me see if I can get it up.
I thought you would like this. I seen this in a shop window in Paisley's High Street. I thought it was about you, and then I peered in a wee bit closer, and it's actually an original from that day that the man stepped on the moon.
Fantastic.
So that's for sale now. It's a cracking wee shop, Andy.
40 quid. That is a bargain. The Daily Mirror.
Have you not snapped that up yet?
I've not been out the house at all, Gary. I maybe need to get down. But
is that a bargain, Andy? 40 quid for that?
I think. Well, I'm no antiques expert, Gary, but I would say 40 quid for that. That's all right.
So that's in the antique shop on Paisley's High Street. It's a cracking wee shop.
You'd put that on your wall, and it's 51 years since Armstrong and Aldrin and Michael Collins. You can't forget Michael Collins. He never actually set foot in the moon, but he needed to be there as part of their control up in the limb. And 51 years ago, and amazing.
Who took the pictures, Andy?
Oh, that was the contracted out a private organisation, Gary. It was apparently, if you believe in all the moon conspiracies, it was Stanley Kubrick.
So there was a guy kind of just there.
Aye, just pose for the cameras,
just doing the shadow thing and taking the pictures. Right, jump half now. Say that, man. Moon thing, walk thing. Right, okay.
It's one of those conspiracy theories that really makes me laugh. If people think that we never actually went to the moon, in the same category as flat earthers, Gary. If anyone can argue and prove scientifically why we never went to the moon or how we never went to the moon, or that the earth is flat, I'd be delighted to hear for you, because they're all just random tinfoil hat wearer people.
Well, you can ask one man, he's still wired to it. Donald Trump, he's connected to it, so he can...
Oh, Jesus, isn't he just...
That's a programme in itself, Andy. And I've also... We were contacted by our friends at Paisley FM. Remember with Paisley FM on a couple of weeks ago?
Indeed, we did.
Paisley FM contacted us to say that they've got a fantastic offer for our local traders across the whole of Renfrewshire, and they've got access to all sorts of technology, and they want to make that open to our local traders. So they've offered Renfrewshire traders the opportunity to have their own advert. So they've got a fund. They applied for a fund. So they want to support local traders across Renfrewshire and to encourage everyone to shop local. So all they have to do is contact Paisley FM. They've got a forum, fill it in, say what your business is, the kind of thing you do, and you'll get an advert for free.
An advert on the local radio for Hee-Haw, Gary. Hee-Haw,
yeah.
That's fantastic. That's exclusive for us tonight, isn't it? That's news.
An exclusive. That's an exclusive. So I think that's a fantastic offer. I think what we'll do with that, though, Andy, local traders, Paisley Town Centre, are well connected to Paisley First, the Business Improvement District. I think we'll contact them tomorrow, make them aware that offers came our way and that we're aware of it.
Right.
And if they can share it far and wide with their members. But if there's anyone on here who's a local trader, get in touch with us. We'll send you the form. You send it on to Paisley FM, and fingers crossed you get a free advert.
You get a free advert. That's fantastic. Well done to the folks at Paisley FM, and they've been always wonderful supporters of the show, because you see them on their Facebook feeds. Anything Paisley Community Trust do, in fact, anything that a lot of the community organisations do in Paisley, they're promoting, they're supporting. It's great that we've got such a fantastic stakeholder in the town, Gary. They're wonderful.
Yeah. There's Paul offered us an advert, I think. That's what that wording says.
You can have an advert in the middle of my show. Imagine that. Paul, that'd be fantastic.
Yes.
Excellent.
Great advert to Paul's listener.
I'm sure Paul's get more than one listener. I know Lynette tunes in, but maybe 2 listeners. Paul, what's your ratings, Paul?
4 out of 10.
4 out of 10. Well done, Paisley FM. Fantastic, absolutely brilliant.
Absolutely. So we've got a couple of exclusives tonight, Andy. That's the first one. And our guests tonight, brilliant guest tonight. Want me to tell you a bit about this?
Gary, I cannot wait for tonight's show. It's star-studded.
Star-studded. I know you're really excited about it being a space geek. You're all dressed up for it. Us dressed up for it.
And that's the top on and everything.
You've got your big moon boot slippers, all the gear.
I've got a new
Oh, aye.
new one, Gary, as well.
Very nice. Aye, so John Presley, the science curator at Paisley Museum's coming on to talk about everything related to the observatory.
Yep.
I remember it from being in the Cubs and away back in the day and going up there and remembering all that stuff. And it's a great place. And our provost is coming on tonight. She's been sending out thank yous all over Renfrewshire, and she's coming on to say thank you personally. We've got our own thanks, but of course the provost coming on. Spoke about Cubs there, Andy. You noticed anything in the local psyche about the Cubs and Cub related?
I did, Gary, and we spoke about it earlier, but I never had a chance to pop up an image. But Peasweep, now, I was never in the Cubs or the Scouts, but anyone that has been in the Cubs or the Scouts will know that Peasweep or Lapwing Lodge, is that what it's called?
Yeah, that's what it's called, yeah.
They've been going through tough times, as a lot of people have been doing through COVID, and the lodge and the facilities there need to be funded and need to be paid for. So during the show at some point, I'm going to try and get some details up for you all. And yeah, if you can support, if you were in the Cubs, if you're in the Scouts, Brownies, Girl Guides or whatever, and you went to Peasweep, or if you get any family, they need your support right now. So it's important that we get that message out there. So I'll find the link and I'll get it up online.
Absolutely. The Cubs and the Brownies and all that are merged now, Andy, aren't they?
Or are they? They're just one big organisation.
One big jamboree. Right, we're getting on, Andy. If I had a buzzer, it would have went off. Let's get our first guest on. John Paisley, Science Curator, Paisley Museum. Welcome to the show, John.
Hi guys, thanks for having me on. And
that's a real
listeners.
How are you, John? You well?
It's a real pleasure, John.
Thank you.
I know this conversation might go a number of ways, and if Andy gets a hold of it, it's only going to go one way, and that's up.
Good. That's the best way to go.
Absolutely. John, it's great to have you on because of course you've been sort of entertaining people in your own way since lockdown with your telescope and your live streaming and images of the moon and various other things. So it's fantastic to have you spending some time with us this evening and not out freezing in the back garden, looking at what's going on in space right now.
It does make a nice change to be indoors for once. It is a wee bit cloudy tonight, which is quite unfortunate if anyone's got a clear sky. It's the Eta Draconiids meteor shower peaks tonight. It's not the most exciting one, but about 10 or so an hour should have been visible. But we have got solid cloud overhead, so never mind. It's always next year.
John, we were talking earlier. John, Andy, I'm going off at a tangent here. We were talking earlier about old sweetie names and stuff, and it just reminds me of the olden days when you used to hang about the street corners and look up and you could actually see the stars.
Yeah.
What's changed?
Street lights, basically. Extra lights, light pollution. We have got a lot more street lighting, a lot more lights around houses. So we're losing the night sky a little bit, which is a shame. There have been new things introduced quite recently. I know that a lot of places have got new lighting, which rather than firing all that light up into space is concentrating it down below, which does help a little bit. But yeah, we really are. We're kind of losing that whole night sky, which is a shame. You've got to get really out of the central belt if you're allowed to do so anymore after the announcement today. But when you're allowed to do that, get out and get somewhere nice and dark, get a chance to see what the sky really, really should look like.
Yeah, it's absolutely spectacular when you can. But yeah, I mean, if you're in Paisley there or thereabouts, there's a fair chunk of light pollution, as you say, John. But obviously, we're here to talk about a number of different things, and one of the absolute treasures that we have in the town is the Coates Observatory. And I think you were kind enough to send some pictures through, John, which I'll pop up on the screen. But just as we're doing that, it might be good to just have you tell us a little bit about the history of the observatory, John.
Okay, no problem. It can actually trace its history back to 1880, and there's some great old pictures there. Fantastic. It's really thanks to Paisley Philosophical Institution that we're there now. The institution's still on the go. They were founded way back in 1808, and their ideas were to promote science and general learning throughout the community. by collecting books for a library and creating a museum was their ultimate aim. And then on the back of that, they decided they wanted a big telescope. Initially, that was going to go into the museum. And I think this is maybe where we've got a little bit of sibling rivalry here. Thomas Coates is the guy obviously behind the museum, but his brother Peter was the one, Peter's the one behind the museum. He was getting all the kudos, obviously, for helping to fund the museum. His brother Thomas maybe felt a bit left out here, so he decided to put up the funding for the observatory building. So he put his hand in his pocket to pay for the observatory, for the original telescope, which is the one you can see on the left there, and also left a bit of money behind as well to help furnish the place and keep it up and running. That's why it's called Coates Observatory and not Paisley Observatory. The philosophical institution decided to name it after their benefactor.
Yep.
We've been there. We opened 1st October 1883, and we've pretty much been there ever since, welcoming anyone interested in space.
Oh, fantastic!
What happened to the old telescope, John? Is it lying around somewhere?
It's still there. There is a modern picture I've probably sent you through of the dome as it looks today. The telescope you can see there was original from 1883. It was replaced in 1898 with a much larger one, and all they did was going to stick that one on top of it and use that as a finder scope now. So pretty big, expensive finder scope, but yeah, it's great. We can do things like what was amazing when you see the moon through the wee telescope. I keep calling it wee; it's not that wee. Through the original telescope, and the full viewfinder, you've got a picture of the moon, looks fantastic. Then you say to folk, right, now go look at it through the big telescope, which is hugely powerful when you're just suddenly getting this wee tiny bit of the moon, and the craters are all leaping out at you, the mountains and everything like that. It's just, it's amazing. And the reaction you get from people is really what makes doing these viewing nights. It's great.
Yeah, and of course the window, which is the next image that we've got here, is is famous within the building, and there's a story behind that as well, John.
Well, the stained glass, the building itself, obviously, has got some great architectural features, almost as if Thomas Coates wanted folk to be as impressed as they wandered in the building, as impressed as they're going to be with anything they see through that telescope. So he hired sort of the best artisans of the day. This comes from the workshop of Stephen Adam, who's basically the go-to guy in the sort of late Victorian period. If you want a stained glass, he was the guy you went to, not just in Scotland, worldwide as well. There's a lot of stuff all over the shop. So this window celebrates William Herschel. He was the astronomer royal around about the late 18th, early 19th century, the discoverer of the planet Uranus. The window's kind of weird, though. We've got some zodiac symbols below, but there's only 9, so there's 3 missing, which is a big mystery, because we've never really got to the bottom of exactly where those missing 3 are. But in terms of architectural feature, it's absolutely stunning. Really is.
Yeah, that is John, really. And I mean, I was chatting to Andy earlier, and I had some memories of being in the observatory of when I was younger, and I mentioned to him one of the memories I had was of the San Francisco earthquake.
Yeah.
And he was saying, what are you talking about, earthquakes related to observatory? I says, well, that's where they didn't find that it happened, but there's this, is it a seismograph it's called, John?
Yeah. That in itself's a really bizarre story. Back in 1898, James Coates, son of Thomas, decided to throw his money around a little bit and wanted to upgrade the observatory. That's why we got the new telescope and a whole stack of other equipment. And it coincided with this chap called John Milne. He was a seismologist. He basically invented the science of seismology, earthquake recording. He'd been out in Japan. He'd lived through a few earthquakes, and he came back to the Isle of Wight to settle and decided he wanted to try and find out how these things were going on. So he wanted to set up a worldwide network of seismometers all across the planet. And he wrote to just about everywhere he could think of, universities, any scientific institution. And by the end of 1898, there was 20 places that said, yeah, okay, we'll take one of these. And one of them was Coates Observatory. So it's quite incredible when you look at the network, and there's things like Washington, London, even Cairo, Paris, blah, 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 and Paisley, and amongst all that lot. So his letter just arrived right at the right time. These guys were looking to spend money on some more scientific equipment. This was a new science that was coming on stream, and they thought, yeah, okay, let's do it. The only thing with that, they obviously, when they got it, usual thing, bunch of blokes don't read the instructions. They didn't really know what was to go on with this thing. It took about 10 years before they said, maybe we should find out how this works. Sent the curator down to the Isle of Wight, and he came back, right, sussed it out, and set this thing up. It's recorded quakes all over the planet, but probably that is the most famous one we've got, is the San Francisco earthquake. So basically, normally you just got a wee straight line there, and you can see it goes absolutely loopy. That was when the earthquake was recorded over on the other side of the planet.
Wow, it's quite something. And is that kit still in the building?
We have got the original one. They had actually bought two. Melon had recommended you buy two, which he had designed himself. So I'm sure he got a little cut out of the proceeds there. But we have got one of them still. So when I guess we reopen it, will be one of the objects that will be on display.
Oh, fantastic. And we talked about some of the scopes that are there.
Wow.
Sort of in the sort of middle there is obviously the two scope setup that you've currently got. But talk us around some of those other pictures, John.
Okay, well, starting up at the top left, that's just a tiny little snapshot of some of the scientific apparatus that we've had. I'd say Thomas Coates initially left as a bit of an endowment to go and spend it on instruments, furnish the place, do proper science in it. His son James came along and decided to spend a bit more. And I think it got to the point where he just basically said, yeah, whatever you want, order it, I'll pay for it. So we have got this top-notch stuff from the best instrument makers right across this country, as it was in the late Victorian period. An amazing array of equipment, whether telescopes, microscopes, spectroscopes, you name it, we've pretty much got one of them. It's quite incredible. If we go over to the middle bit, that funny little glass globe, that is our sunshine recorder. One of the other things that we've done, as well as obviously looking at the night sky and recording earthquakes, is recording the weather. So we've actually got an unbroken weather record from 1883 right through to present day. We've gone all modern and electronic now, and we've got a machine that does it all itself. But until we installed that a few years back, you had to do the whole thing manually. So every single day, someone was out there doing temperature readings, measuring the rainfall. And the wee sunshine chart there, it's fantastic. Glass ball, we put a bit of paper behind it, and as the sun moved across the sky, it would fire that's raised through the glass ball, focus on the paper and burn the hole. So at the end of the day, you take that out, and how much of the hole was burnt right across the bit of paper was how much sunshine you'd had.
That's brilliant. Could you go back in the records, John, and find out what the weather was like the day you were born?
You can do, yeah, as long as you're born in Paisley, absolutely, yep. We have got them going right back. They're all in big books at the moment. They're all in our store, the Secret Collection. But they are all accessible. The records are there.
That's amazing, really, isn't it? I remember going there again in that plan. Is it called a planetarium?
It's the orrery, the thing with all the planets on it.
Is it a wee windy up thing the side and they go round?
It has, yes. It itself is absolutely fantastic because it's a real snapshot of what they knew about the solar system when that was made. So that's, you can see, that's the thing at the bottom of the images there, and also up the top right, there's a wee bit of Saturn. So that's the model of Saturn, which has only got, I think, something like 10 moons on it. That's what it was known when, I think this thing dates from 1903. Saturn's now got something like 67 moons, I think it is. It's up to. They keep finding new ones every time they send another spaceship out there. So it's still operational. You can still twirl the handle and all the planets do move. Fantastic. Really, really ingenious how it works as well.
And talking about moons, this is one of the things that you've been doing, John, in terms of the live streams, is close-up imagery of the moon itself. And I've only got 3 images here, but have to share these because they look absolutely spectacular, John. So tell us a wee bit about your setup and maybe one or two of the features that we're seeing in some of these images, John.
Okay, well, we're actually using one of the portable telescopes that we have in the observatory. So as well as those two that we've got up in the dome, we've got a couple of ones we used to set up in the garden during our viewing nights. So one of those, which is really, really simple. These images are actually just taken through the camera on my phone. We've got a little eyepiece holder. You just stick it over the eyepiece, and the telescope images basically come through there. You can see the kind of quality of imagery you can get from that. It's pretty stunning. If we start on the left, you've got a bit of a close-up there. The two big craters you can see there. Middle one is called Copernicus, one of the biggest craters on the moon. It's about 100 or so miles across, about 4 or 5 miles deep, pretty big. And then the little one to its left is Kepler, that one. A bit smaller, but still really impressive impact. Middle picture there is a little close-up view of what we call the Apennine Mountains. So that's a semicircular shape you can see there. They border the Sea of Rains, I think that is. And also you can see loads of other craters there. They give you an idea of scale here. That wee mountain chain that you can see there, the highest one of them is probably a bit bigger than Mont Blanc, which is the highest mountain in Europe. So I think they reach about 18,000 feet high or something like that from the moon's surface. And of course, the one on the right is a near full moon, which is a beautiful sight, but probably the worst time to actually look at it through a telescope because it's so bright. You lose all that other detail that you get from the shadows and stuff like that. So, yeah, lovely. The moon's lovely to look at no matter when, really.
That's fascinating, John. I've always wondered. The images are they all of one side? And is the Pink Floyd album about the dark side of the moon? Has anyone seen it?
Yeah. Interesting enough, nobody had. The moon keeps the same face pointed towards us all the time. It's got this weird thing where it rotates on its axis, just like the Earth does, but it takes the same amount of time to rotate in its axis as it does to go around the Earth. So it keeps the same face pointed towards us because of that. So nobody had seen the far side of the moon at all. It was the Russians who were actually the first to, when they sent a spaceship around there. The other side's heavily cratered. There's not got those seas, those sort of darker grey areas or anything like that. It's just really, really heavily cratered. But this interesting story with a Paisley connection. Because the Russians went around the far side first, they got first dibs on naming things. So a lot of the craters and everything like that are all named after Russian scientists. This side that we look at, they're all named. They were naming started about the 1600s, and they're named after scientists, ancient Greek philosophers, all that kind of stuff. The far side, there is one crater called Crater Jackson, and it's actually named after a chap from Paisley, John Jackson, who was an astronomer. And he was the astronomer royal out of the Cape Observatory, which is like the Southern Hemisphere's equivalent of Greenwich, in the 1930s. So he was out there. So he's got a crater, chap from Paisley, he's got a crater on the moon named after him.
Which is goodness. I'm just thinking of the scale of the moon. You were talking earlier, Andy, about the landing on the moon.
Yes.
You don't get a perspective from that picture about the scale of that place. It's enormous, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not just the scale of the moon, it's, the distance it is away. John, you'll correct me on this if I'm wrong, but you're looking at somewhere in the region of about 240,000 miles away. There, John, is that about right?
Yeah, it does change. I mean, it does get a bit closer, a bit further away. That's why we get these super moons that everybody gets on about. So when the moon's a little bit closer, it'll look a bit bigger. So yeah, between about 230, 250,000 miles, it kind of varies.
Yeah, and to think of the engineering that went into landing humans on the moon was just, I mean, when Kennedy issued his moonshot, which was in 1961, by the end of the decade we'll have landed humans on the moon. That was quite a challenge because, really they had to invent all the technology and develop all the technology. But the wee interesting fact that I like is that the day that we landed humans on the moon, the average age of staff at Mission Control was 26. So when Kennedy issued his moonshot 8 years ago, those kids were 18. They were just leaving high school. And you think in those 8 short years, they went from high school grads to landed humans on the moon. And it just shows you what an accomplishment that it took to actually put Armstrong and Aldrin onto the moon. And yeah, we've not been back. Well, we were all the way through until Apollo 17, but we've not been back since 72. But we'll be going back soon, probably within the next sort of 3 to 4 years, John.
Yeah, it looks like it. NASA have announced Project Artemis, which is intended to land the next man and the first woman on the moon sometime 2023, I think is their target. And it'd be great. It'd be great to see something like that. I mean, I would have been a year old when the last moon landing took place, so I clearly don't remember it. So it'd be nice to actually see something like this happening again.
There's that picture in the antique shop, John. You should nip down and get that. A bargain, 40 quid.
Definitely. Yeah. Bargain, absolute bargain.
So there it is.
One of the pictures you showed earlier, Andy, the one with all the objects. If you look at the bottom left, that's actually some of the original Apollo catalogues. We got a big donation from somebody who had worked for NASA, and he had all these. So those little pictures you can see are all some of the other ones that get taken on the moon. So it's one of the things. You were talking about the conspiracy earlier, and it's one of the things people say, the pictures are far too perfect. Yeah. Well, that's the photo catalogue, and it's like out of the half a dozen or so pictures that you see, there are several hundred that you don't see because they're just dreadful photos, basically.
Yeah.
So they always pick the best ones to put out. So we've got great stuff there. One of the press release kits we've got gives you everything you wanted to know about the Apollo mission, but we're too afraid to ask. So even if you wanted to know what Neil Armstrong had for his breakfast the morning he landed on the moon, it's in there.
Yeah. It's just fascinating. NASA dumped all the images so that you can go through all of them. now.
Yeah.
But obviously looking at the night sky, because that's one of the good things that we have coming into sort of winter and clearer skies, and it getting darker a little bit earlier. There's a lot going on in the sky right now, and a couple of these images we're very close, or Mars is very close to Earth right now. It's maybe not as close to take that kind of picture in the middle there, but you can't get good sightings of Mars at this current moment. It's out there hanging about.
Yeah, the three images I've got here, Saturn, Mars, and Jupiter, these are all taken by the Hubble Space Telescope. So it's the Hubble's great, but it maybe sometimes gives a little bit of a false impression of what you're going to come and see through the observatory telescope, because it's not going to look anything like that. But yeah, Mars was actually its closest last night, a mere 35 million miles away from us, but it'll certainly be still in the sky right the way through the winter. And same with Jupiter and Saturn. As soon as the sun sets, if you look pretty much due south, the two bright spots you can see in the sky, that's those two big planets.
Yeah, just fantastic.
Andy, I might get into space now. I think I need to get into space. Become a geek.
Think so, Gary?
Well, it's fascinating. It really is when you consider and you look up and you look at all that stuff up there, and John's got it at his fingertips. I was going to ask John, are you still working at the moment, even though the place is closed?
Yeah, they're keeping us very, very busy. We're working stories towards the new museum when it all opens up. So doing all that, but also trying to keep my hand in on the astronomy stuff as much as possible, which is, one of the reasons why running the live shows has been absolutely fantastic. It's been great to see the response people have had, the questions that we get in. It's fantastic, the interest that's there. So we're trying to keep that element of things going. Yeah,
that's good that you are, John, keeping that going. And I'll definitely tune in the next one, and to close this segment of the show when time passes so quickly. When is your next live stream?
Okay, we've not got it set in stone yet. We could really just do the moon, given the sort of technological limitations I've got. That I'm using my phone to do the broadcasting, but it's working. So the next sort of time we've got the moon is somewhere between the 23rd of October to the 31st. The 31st is actually a full moon, so we've got a full moon on Halloween, which is, if it wasn't spooky enough, that's going to really add to it. So anytime between those dates, we will try and organise a night and see what happens.
Listen, it's 2020. Anything can happen.
Anything could.
Yeah, and this moon on Halloween, and Gary knows this one. This is known as a blue moon, Gary. Is that correct, John?
Will be, yeah. Second full moon of the month.
I know that.
Do you know why they call it a blue moon, Gary?
Is it because anything to do with Man City? That's their song, Andy. Did you know that?
Blue Moon, is it? I don't think it's a football connection, and it's not.
Okay. No, tell me, why is it called a blue moon?
Because, and again, I'm bowing in the presence of an expert here, but it's because the 1st of October was a full moon, and the 31st of October is a full moon. So the fact that you've got two full moons in one calendar month is very rare. So it's just known as, so it's a blue moon. So it's not physically blue. It wouldn't look blue. It's
so just a random colour. Just pick up. It could have been a kind of turquoise moon. They could have just said any colour.
Yeah, they could have.
There's no relevance to the blue.
There's no relevance to the blue other than it's a rare occurrence.
Is it? A once in a blue moon.
Once in a blue moon.
Is it just talking about blue and water and stuff? Tangential question. What's the moon got to do with tide?
Okay. Well, the moon's gravitational pull on the Earth is what causes the tides. So as the moon sort of moves around our sky, it pulls on the Earth pulls the moon, but basic Newtonian mechanics there. And it actually bulges the surface of the Earth out a little bit. So as we spin under there in a day, that bulge obviously kind of moves around the planet, and that's what causes the high tides. It's not noticeable to us standing there, but that's what makes the water level rise and sink, is the moon pulling on it.
I knew that. Right, John, this has been fascinating. We could talk all night, but
gladly.
I'm really sorry. We've got other things. We've
no
been to 9 o'clock. Sorry, Lorraine.
Yes, John, it's been a real pleasure, sir, and thank you.
Thank you.
It's been fascinating, John. Hang about, please, in the black and white room. We'll catch up with you at the end of the show.
Yeah, no problem at all.
In the meantime, thank you so much.
No worries. Cheers, guys. Thanks, folks.
Thank you.
I could have spoken to John all night about moon stuff and space stuff. It's fascinating, Gary.
That was really good. And we were down the Ayrshire coast the past few weekends, and I'm going, see that tide going in and out there? Do you know why that is? It's because of the blue moon.
There you go. Once in a blue moon. Halloween this year, 2020, has got a full moon as well. So that'll be. I don't think you're allowed out to trick or treat. You're only allowed tracking and treat.
We might get lucky and get John on our Halloween special.
Be good. Listen,
okay.
We could be chatting all night about moon-related stuff, and you know me, Gary, I don't need encouraged as far as space goes.
No, we don't. Right, Andy, come on, we need to move on. I've got my tea to get.
Who's our next guest, Gary?
You tell me. I can't remember.
It's the one and only Provost, Gary. Will we let her in?
I may as well.
Oh, gee, thanks.
Hi, Lorraine.
May as well, Gary. That words of encouragement and welcome there for the Provost.
I can't rewind. I can't take it back.
No, thanks, guys. That was great. I could have listened to John for the full hour there. He was wonderful.
Wasn't that fascinating, Lorraine? From one geek to a new geek.
Yeah.
Really interesting. As I said, I remember being up there in the Cubs and you kind of walk round and you kind of peer into stuff, and I'm glad I remember half of it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. If you do get, I know there's a lot of light pollution around, but if you do get a really still night, clear skies, and you look up and you just are in awe of the amount of stuff that you can see up there, and occasionally you'll see the ISS and other little satellites, but it's amazing. But back down to Earth, Lorraine, how have you been doing? Because we were talking about this earlier on. You were on our very, very first show, and here we are, heavens forbid, episode 23, and you're back on again, Lorraine.
It's incredible. I just can't honestly believe that so many weeks have gone by, and that first show, I don't even know if anyone listened to us that night. Did they? Did you have any viewers?
Yeah. You set the tone, Lorraine.
I think Caroline Gormley and I were on that night, and I think it was our pals that were listening in. But since then, I hear you've gone from strength to strength, and you've got viewers from all over the world now.
Yeah, we have. We were talking earlier today, me and Andy, and we were thinking we need to do some stats and how many people we've reached and might have tuned in, and we done a notional add up, and we've reached 250,000 people, not just locally, but they've been tuning in from Canada, New York, Australia. It's just really brilliant.
Yeah, it's been really good. I've enjoyed it. I've been tuning in most weeks whenever I could, and I know that lots of other people have been too. You've got your regulars, and it's been fascinating. And to know that we've got that many talented people living right beside us is incredible. Hi, Lil.
Oh no, it's the first show. We are all in this together, Lorraine. We thought at Paisley Community Trust, we wanted to give a little bit of that platform to shine a light on all the good stuff that was going on, because it was new to everyone. And you obviously mentioned Caroline there taking to painting on toilet rolls, and what a wonderful piece of artwork she created over the time. But there's been so many initiatives, so many things that have been going on, and we've been able to spotlight only just a few of them. We'll talk about some of the other things a little bit in a moment with you. But no, it's been great to see the support and the encouragement that's out there, and I guess ultimately in your role, Lorraine, and the role within the council, it's you've not been sitting idle. You've been really busy dealing with it in a very proactive way.
Yeah, I think that I haven't actually been involved in the planning of the COVID response. I mean, there's an emergency board for that, and I think Eddie Devine's one of your regular viewers. He is on the emergency board, so they were basically doing all the business of the council in this one board meeting every week, and that itself is incredibly difficult when you've just got a few of the councillors out of the 40 odds doing that. And so I was more involved in the kind of social side of things, and I think we're talking about astronomy and all that tonight, and I think what I'm about to do is highlight all the stars, pardon the pun, that we have in our communities in Renfrewshire. And I think to maybe put things into a wee bit of perspective here and let you know what was going on at that time, like at the peak of the lockdown. And we had about 6,500 people officially shielding. But we ended up, through the local assistance team, helping probably about 8,500 different people, because there were other people who called in and asked the council for support, which of course we never refused. Everyone who asked for help, they got help from the council. So they had all the teams doing that, and so the employees were taken from all over the place. You know John that is usually hanging around with me and drives me everywhere. John was running around picking up prescriptions for people. People that were normally out cutting the grass were helping put together parcels for all of these people. And at its peak, I think there were about 2,200 households who were receiving deliveries 3 times a week. So that just gives you a wee indication of the scale of the programme, the mass, and the amount of people that had to be involved in all of that. So those are the officials. Then we had where the community kicked in, the volunteers kicked in, really, were for the people who were vulnerable for other reasons. Those people weren't classed as officially shielding, but they had other problems, and perhaps they had financial problems and they just needed some help with food. So our community just kicked in. Nobody waited to be asked. It was as if everyone just rose up and decided, right, okay, let's get out there and find out where our vulnerable people are, what they need, and how we can give it to them. And that's where bigger organisations like the Star Project and the St Mirren Charitable Foundation came in, and they kind of formed a partnership, and other people were feeding into that, like perhaps like Abercorn Dairies, who provided milk, and Bianco Nero, who also provided fresh milk and lunches for people. So it was incredible to see all of this happening. It was just absolutely wonderful and very, very humbling at the same time.
Yeah, it is, Lorraine, and there's so many people to thank across Renfrewshire, and I know that the part of the reason I'm coming on tonight is to do that. We've got a snippet, a wee surprise run through of all of those organisations that you've been thanking this week. I would like to play that. Andy, have you got that ready?
And can I just say there are some more to come too, because I've had to do it in stages. So even if people don't have their wee thank you yet, it will be coming to them. But I just thought that people were saying, well, why are you sending them out just now? Because we're still in the midst of the pandemic. But really, you touched on it earlier on, Gary, and we keep feeling as if we're going 10 steps forward and then another 8 back. And I just thought the time was right. People needed it now. They needed to know how precious they are to us, and how much we actually value what they were doing. And they weren't the people who I got round to thanking. I knew some of them personally. I read about others in newspapers. I asked the councillors, did they want to nominate anyone? So there are probably others out there who I don't even know about yet, but I will be told about, But these are people who went above and beyond the call of duty. Because, I mean, let's face it, we were all picking things up for our neighbours and doing normal things like that. But these were all people who really stepped up to the plate, had ingenious ways of fundraising. And so, they were just marvellous.
Listen, we know the list isn't complete, and we'll happily add to it as and when, but I'll run this. But thank you to, and we're not getting rid of you right now, Lorraine, so don't go anywhere, but thanks to the Provost for recognising our Renfrewshire stars.
Wow, isn't that something else?
That was
That's
lovely.
amazing.
That was
See that? That's amazing to see that like that, Lorraine, and for Paisley Community Trust to be included among that is really quite humbling for us. We appreciate you sending that out to us, and thank you so much.
Well, as I said earlier, people were all doing different things. Some people were entertaining the troops. You know, some people were helping with deliveries. You guys, you were entertaining the troops. Paisley FM, they were keeping us all up to date with all the latest regulations and everything else. People were just generally doing great things. And I think because people knew that charities were suffering, they weren't able to fundraise in the same way. You know, other people stepped up to the plate and thought, right, okay, well, what can we do to do things a wee bit differently and still get them some money, you know? We had a fascinating things like we had Tom Moore's namesake. We've got our own Tom Moore. Did you know that?
I seen that. I'd wonder why that was on the list.
So, and he actually lives in Lochwinnock.
Wow.
And he walked around.
Can you
his own garden.
Can you bestow a sir, Lorraine? Are you allowed to do that?
I don't have that. I don't think they would trust me with that big sword anyway. But our Tom walks 26. Our Tom walked 26 miles around his own garden, and he did that for, I think it was St Vincent's Hospice. So it's wonderful, great stuff people were doing.
It really just shows you the strength and depth that we have in Renfrewshire and Paisley and the community. And as you said, Lorraine, people just rose up naturally. They just did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's really good, and of course we got our own little award or certificate of thanks through from yourself, which came in the post the other day there, Lorraine. So thank you so much. It's I mean, you really don't know how much that means to us to get that through and to see that the little bit of work that we've been doing has been helping out, and you know we're not alone. And I think what is the humbling thing is when you see everyone else in there and you know that they've been helping in their own way, and a few of the folks that have also been recognised by yourself, they also got in touch just to express their gratitude to, you know, from them to you. So Paisley FM, they got their award through as well, or their certificate of thanks through as well, and they dropped us a really nice note to say, you know, please do pass on our sincerest gratitude to the Provost, because it just means so much. So
the pleasure's all mine.
No, wow.
Well, what would we have done without this to look forward to every week? It was the highlight of my week, and I'm sure it was a highlight of other folks' week too.
You need to take out a Netflix subscription, Lorraine.
Yeah.
I've got to be honest, I did think there might have been more bloomers. I think that's why I kept tuning in.
No, that definitely has been, but we've kept into pre-show tech issues.
I
do
know.
Appreciate it so much. These people are, we do appreciate. I speak for everyone, not just for myself, because I know that you all feel the same, and I know that everybody watching this show feels the same. It's actually, you know, I can get quite emotional when I think about the extent to which people cared for their communities in Renfrewshire, and I feel very privileged to live here, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah,
I mean, our personal thanks, and for the whole of Paisley Community Trust, to see that whole list scrolling through, and it does touch you, and you realise that you're in amongst really good people that are doing above and beyond, and a lot of these stories have still to be told. And Andy, we need to get some people on it to tell their story.
Oh, it's a brilliant roll call of folk that we need to be shining the spotlight on, because we've got great people, and the endeavours that they've undertaken and the efforts that they've gone to are clearly important. But of course, I mean, number one, we're not out of it yet, so it's important that we just keep up the good effort, keep up the good activity that we do. But Lorraine, we were so lucky to have you on our first programme, because actually you set a lot of the tone for some of the thread and the themes that come out in our other programmes. And one of the things that you talked about in that first show was, you know, when things do return to normal, it's important that we support our local shops, our local traders, our local community organisations, that we do as much as we can to spend that pound back in the town and help where we can. And that message not changed at all, Lorraine, has it?
No, not at all. It's more important now than ever, I would say, because the longer this goes on, the more affected our businesses are locally throughout Renfrewshire. And I know that, Paisley seems to be particularly affected, but we have other small towns too that need our support.
Absolutely.
Well, they're not small towns, but smaller. But the towns and the villages also need people to be shopping locally. And I hope, I would really love to think that people were going to do that. And I hear people saying, well, what's the point of going in there to shop when there's no shops? But there are plenty of shops in Paisley. And if anybody's in any doubt about what there actually is in Paisley, well, go onto the Paisley First website. There's tons of information on there, or get in touch with any of what I call the Paisley worthies now.
That offer, Lorraine, from Paisley FM is open to Renfrewshire. It's not a Paisley offer.
And that's wonderful. Great news. Take them up on their offer. There are tons of people around that are willing to promote your business. So and please, people, just shop local. Spend your money. Even if you go to your wee local shops beside you, and if you live in Glenburn, Foxbar, Hunter Hill, doesn't matter. Shopping there makes such a huge difference.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, a great message, Lorraine, and we know that in the lead up to Christmas is going to be strange as well. And there's people out there doing fantastic stuff in the lead up to Christmas, and we were fortunate enough to have Lauren popping in to say hello tonight. All being how the tech works. Hi, Lauren.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Lorraine.
So Lauren, welcome to the show, and thanks for popping in. And we're talking about all those magnificent things that all of those groups that Lorraine has highlighted, and we've did the Star Wars thing. But of course, in the lead up to Christmas, you've got something that you're doing. You want to tell us about that, please?
Yeah. So hi everyone. So I run the Renfrewshire Christmas Toy Bank, and we work with a lot of the organisations that Lorraine spoke about and were listed in the Star Wars video, which I loved as well. And I think I agree with Lorraine. It was actually quite emotional watching it and seeing everyone come together and seeing just the work that people do, and things like that do go out. They go on all year round as well. And seeing, who we work with in the Toy Bank previously, more organisations are coming forward because of COVID. So we work with referring organisations to give children and young adults in Renfrewshire toys for Christmas and Christmas gifts and gift cards. So yeah, we work with a lot of those organisations. We work with social work, we work with the food bank, and it's amazing. It's been amazing in the past to see everyone coming together and the support that we've had from Renfrewshire, but it's going to be even more vital now that we're working through the pandemic. So yeah, we've got drop-off points set up, and like you were just talking about, shopping locally, for me that's a really big thing as well. And even just myself, going and delivering posters in Paisley and things like that, like you said, there is a lot of shops there is a lot of local businesses, and we can be supporting them. So through the Toy Bank this year, we want to be doing a lot of press as well, and we want to be highlighting the businesses we work with, because they help us out a lot by being drop-off points for us. So, for instance, Comic Crazy Cafe, just across from the train station, like they've got fantastic board games, for instance, like that's a great Christmas present. Other businesses that we work with, they sell gift vouchers. So personally this year for me, it's all about everyone coming together. Renfrewshire haven't let us down yet, so I have everything crossed that everything will come together, because last year we gave out 1,500 referrals, and this year already, another 2 organisations within the past couple of days alone have asked to come on board, and we're not going to say no to anyone, because we just want to do as much as we physically can. And even the organisations that we work with, for instance, social work, they're not back in their office, so we're having to think of different ways to work to distribute toys. And again, like the social workers, they're working with us. They want the best for their families that they work with. So it really is an absolute group effort. Just like touching on what you said earlier, it's just really about everyone coming together. So I feel like I'm ranting on, but we've got a Facebook page. Please check us out.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Lauren, it's such an important thing that you do for the community. So ultimately, in terms of the people that might be watching, some may have businesses and some may just be individuals in their own households. For both of those groups, How can they help? How can they get involved?
So first of all, you can check out our Facebook page. It lets you know who we work with. It lets you know how our referral system works, so you know the gifts are going to people who are in genuine need. For businesses, they can help by becoming a drop-off point for us. So any gifts that we get must be new. This year, obviously, PPE and things like that's really important, but we are providing all of that if that's needed. In terms of the general public and how they can help, like literally even sharing a Facebook post to us is, you know, that's really important. That's how we get the word out. If you would like to donate a gift, you can go to one of the businesses and do that. All Renfrewshire libraries are drop-off points as of tomorrow, so that's fantastic as well. And if you don't want to be out and about and, you know, people might go back into shielding, we don't know how things are going to go, we've got a PayPal link as well. And usually the money that we get goes to buy gift cards for teenagers, and it buys specialised toys for children living with disabilities. But this year, if we're trying to get more PayPal donations, because that will allow us to just bulk buy online, it's less people touching things, you know, all that sort of stuff. So any help, if you can't donate, a share on Facebook, even that does make an impact to us.
And I've just popped your details up there in the bottom. Renfrewshire Christmas Toy Bank on Facebook. And as you said, I mean, right now, I'm just trying to see the stats. You've got 2,633 people who follow or like your page. So if you're watching tonight, and if you don't already follow, don't already like the page, just hit the like button. And if you can share a post, if that's the least that you can do tonight, is to share one of the posts, that's going to help Lauren, isn't it?
Oh,
at the very least.
Lauren, were you aware of the... Sorry, Lorraine, on you go.
Could I just point out too that this is not just about, you know, people would assume that the gifts are for people who are on benefits and things like that, and it's not. That, you know, we have what people now class as the working poor, and there are people this year for whom that will be especially true because of furlough, because people aren't getting full wages. And let's face it, there's nothing more inevitable this year, I think, than the fact that people are going to lose their jobs. So this is, I think, Lauren's service is going to support people from all walks of life. Definitely. You know, it's not just going to be people who are being referred by social work this year. There are going to be other people who are really struggling and perhaps afraid or too embarrassed to come forward and say they need help. So I think the more people we can share this with and talk, the more people we can talk about it to, then the better it is for Lauren.
No, definitely.
Yeah, that's good. We'll get on that, Lauren, later as well, and we'll get sharing your page on the... Are you on Twitter?
I'm not. We'll need to get on that. But I mean, just touching on what Lorraine said quickly, that if anyone is assuming that, I mean, Starve just commented, you put the comment up, they refer to us, the food bank refer to us, social work refer to us, health visitors, Homelink who are in all schools. That's one thing that I had a discussion with a Homelink worker this week, that, you know, they've got clients who are working, and it's just that, you know, through circumstances they cannot afford Christmas this year. So yeah, anything big or small, it does make a difference. And yeah, things are going to people who are in genuine need, and they come from all walks of life. That's
great, Laura. I'll send you on that page for the Paisley FM advert. I'm sure you'll be I'm sure they'll take your, although you're not necessarily a trader, but I'm sure they'll get you a free advert, and you can get that out across the airwaves.
Yeah, we appreciate that. Thank you.
It's not a problem.
Fantastic. And this is, you know, particularly at this time of year, we know that we're all in a challenging situation with COVID, but at this time of year, it's sharper for some. In fact, this year it'll maybe be sharper for everyone, and that's why that roll call, a community that we've got, that we all pull together and work together to help each other out. You know, it's as simple as that. You know, it's our neighbours, it's our friends, it's our colleagues. You know, we've got to help each other out as best as we possibly can. And, you know, Lauren, for you volunteering and doing what you do, and, you know, persevering, because I'm sure it's not been an easy journey. It's, you know, hats off to you. Well done to you, and I guess the rest of the folks that are involved. It's such an important role that you play. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Lauren.
Thanks, Lauren.
Thank you.
Lauren, feel free to hang around in the black and white room.
Okay.
And we're going to wrap up our chat and with Lorraine, and then we'll speak to you soon. But
Okay,
thanks
very much.
for coming on the show.
Thanks, Lauren.
And this is, Lorraine, this is just individual people that decide to do something, and I find that most inspiring. They see an issue, they think, I can do something about that, and they actually go and do it. And Lauren's a perfect example of that, Lorraine.
She's an amazing young person, I have to say. I first came across Lauren maybe just about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and it was because of the toilet. She contacted me to, look, could you just share these things on social media for me? And I said, sure, I'll do that for you, no problem. And I kind of talked to her back and forward. And a lot of people don't know this, but Lauren's also involved in a charity that helps people to arrange weddings, people who maybe don't have any money, but they have to arrange a wedding in a hurry. Perhaps one of the bride or the groom is terminally ill, and she helps to pull everything together and gets donations from people to help make that happen. And
Wow.
I mean, people like that are just worth their weight in gold. And why would we not want to celebrate them and thank them and tell them how much we value them?
Yeah, it is amazing, and that's why I think for me and Andy and what we're doing, it's particularly humbling, because all we're doing is sitting in our bedrooms having a laugh and a chat. And you see people like Lauren and the Star Project and all these other people out there, and they're really grafting and making such a difference to our community.
I mean,
It's humbling.
I was really surprised at the very, very beginning of lockdown. A friend of mine, Jennifer Smythe, Jennifer works up in the ICU at the RAH, and things were really, really hectic. And she said to me, "Oh, I've got this really bad, real problem." She said, nobody can get visitors, so we're not able to get the patients aren't able to get toiletries and things like that because nobody's bringing things like that up. It's normally the families who do this.
Yep.
And I thought, right, okay, well, what can I try to do? So I put a wee Facebook appeal. I thought it was a wee Facebook appeal, and I was inundated. I was opening my door in the morning and walking out in my path, and there were bags lying there.
Yeah.
People were just bringing them up and dropping them off. And it was incredible. And I just kept delivering all that stuff over to Jennifer's house, appearing at her door with all this stuff for her to take to the hospital. But someone else came up with a novel idea to have an Amazon page. So I was quite relieved about that because I wasn't quite sure where that was going to go, because my house was frequently filled with bags and bags and bags of toiletries. But it just shows you how people, if you just ask, people will give. If they know that you're genuine and it's for a genuine reason, people are so kind. They really are.
Get a great message in from Tommy. Very eloquent. Lorraine.
You rock too, Tommy.
He quite literally does. But if we're, in terms of, your ask of the community, is there another ask, Lorraine? Is there something that's out there that you're thinking, this is going to be a challenge, this is going to be a worry, this is going to be something that we need to pull together? Is there another kind of rallying call that you would put out tonight, or is it just simply keep doing what you're doing, folks, because it's good enough?
Yeah, I think keep doing what you're doing, and just pay attention to your wee neighbour next door, and to maybe your young people, because I think we're all getting fed up. I'm really fed up with this. I really am. I have to be perfectly honest, and I'm just out of isolation for 2 weeks on Friday there, and I'm getting fed up with it. However, there are people who I keep reminding myself that there were people who had to shield for months here. And that 2 weeks of mine was really nothing in comparison. And it's people like that we need to keep in our minds. See, when we're feeling down and we're ready to kick off about the situation, just remember that other people are probably going through a wee bit worse. And our young people, I think their mental health, people keep talking about this, but I think they are getting to the stage now where they are really feeling the impact of not being able to live their life, really, the way we all did. And people say, well, it's only a few months. That few months is a long, long time to you when you're that age. When you're a teenager, you think nothing's ever going to happen to you. You've got the world at your feet. You're going to live forever, and to have to stay in and not see your mates, that's a big deal.
Yeah, and it's really strange to know that we're living through this, but the knowledge that this will pass, and fingers crossed it will be soon and into next year, and I'm looking forward to 2021. Hopefully it's a great year.
I think that's easier for us to accept at our age. I think when you're a bit younger, I think, although they were very accepting of it in the beginning, I think it's starting to impact on them. So keep a wee eye out for the young folk, and try and entertain them, get them away from their laptops or their phones or whatever it is they're using, and take them out for some fresh air. That would be my recommendation, because it works a treat.
Yeah, and actually, I mean, that might be something that we'd want to do in, kind of near future shows, is get some of the, the young people that are going through this and get their perspective. My youngest is 17, so I get an insight into what it's like at school and the way that schools are coping. And, youth has that impatience. They want to get on with their life. They want to see their friends. They want to explore new things. And, through what's been happening to them, that has been curtailed, and it's, it is difficult. Maybe as you're a little bit older, you can exercise your patience, but that kind of energy and enthusiasm, we don't want to knock that out of our youth. We want them to be passionate, because they are the future after all. So you're quite right.
I would also urge people to try and understand. If you don't understand it already, try and understand a wee bit more about why we're going through this. Nobody wants this pandemic. No world leader, well, with the exception of one maybe, no world leader is happy to watch their country, to watch their economy going down the pan and not being able to do anything about it. Nobody wants that. Nobody in a position of power is happy about that. I think they're all trying to do their best, and I think sometimes they're winging it too. But even if they're not the same political party as you, it doesn't matter who is in power. It doesn't matter what party they're from. I think they would all be facing the same horrible decisions that they're having to make right now on our behalf. We don't always like it. I don't always like it either, to be perfectly honest.
Well, it's tragic, and I feel for the hospitality industry and
absolutely
pubs and restaurants, and it's tragic. It really is tragic. I don't know what the answer is. It's really frustrating, Lorraine.
Musicians are feeling it particularly bad right now. Like people in the arts, like actors, musicians, and I'm heart sorry for them. I really am, because that's your life's just chopped. Everything's gone. Your hobby, your wages, the whole lot's away, and nobody seems to be kind of addressing that. So I would like to see that addressed. If anybody's listening from the parliaments, please address that for the musicians.
Well,
we've got the Boris that tunes in.
But you reckon
Wouldn't
Boris
that be great?
Suspended everything to tune into Paisley Community Chat Show? Maybe he does. We don't know. Maybe we got some hits from Washington, Gary.
Yeah, but Boris picked up on don't be a tube, and he wanted to know how not to be a tube. So he tuned in.
I hope he emailed Donald.
Well, I know, geez. Well, that's a whole other conversation. We'll have to see where the world ends up in another 30 or so days.
Yeah, but can I finish? But can I finish by saying that if anybody out there is struggling, if you know anyone that's struggling, contact one of your local councillors. Don't feel as if you're afloat with no help. Your local councillors are there. Contact one of them, and they will make sure that they put you in touch with somebody who will be able to help you.
Yeah.
And I think to know that that's out there, and to finish Lorraine on the positive note that what we've seen tonight is a roll call of community ambassadors and community involved individuals and organisations that are the glue that will stick us all together through this time. They'll be the resilient crew that will get us through and out of this, and will lay the foundations on how we build things forward. Lorraine, it's been Provost Lorraine Cameron. It's been a pleasure as always to have you on our programme, and maybe in another 23 episodes we'll have you back on again.
Here, I'm on a diet, so I'll probably be a bit thinner by that time.
Andy, what I'm looking forward to is the live chat show with our first guest, Lorraine Cameron.
Oh, it's got to be done. It's got to be done, Gary. Listen, Lorraine, do stick around in the black and white room, and we'll speak to you soon.
Thank you,
Thanks,
guys.
Lorraine.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How good is it to have the Provost coming on and just acknowledging all of the hard work that all of those community organisations are doing out there, all the individuals, and just going that extra mile at this tough time. The spirit that we have here in Paisley is just wonderful, Gary, isn't it?
It's great to see, Andy, and picking up on some of the social media that I've noticed since we got our thank you letter in on Saturday morning.
Yeah.
And I've noticed since then, every now and again, we're thrilled to receive a thank you from the Provost for the work that we've done, and we're thankful for that. It's a great wee boost to us to know that we're sitting here in our spare rooms.
Yeah.
One, people are actually tuning in and watching, and there's value that people take from it, and to get a letter from the Provost to say thank you is something else.
Yeah.
But noticing that across all those other groups, Andy, and that roll call was, as I've said before, it's really humbling to be part of that.
It was, and remember, Gary, we're not allowed to call it the Star Wars roll call, or I'll have Disney on the phone to me. It's the Renfrewshire Stars.
Renfrewshire Stars, yeah. I think we should finish with that tonight. When we're done with our chat, I think we should finish with that.
We're going to finish. That's a good idea. Although my computer nearly melted when I played it the last time. Great to see some of the folks tuning in on Facebook as always. Tom, you were a bit late to the late to the party. Tom saying hi at 9:14 there.
Tom came in just as we were chatting about actors and singing and stuff. So it was an opportune moment.
Where did you be, Tom?
It's great to see the star team back. We've missed you.
I know we have, and they were quite active in their comments as well, which was tonight. And we could talk about the comments in terms of the creative sector again. From the Chancellor saying that maybe these creatives need to just get a proper job. Effectively, had the creative sector up in arms, because it's such a vital component of our livelihoods and lives. It adds culture and colour and richness to everything that we do. So we'll need to make sure that we pick up on some of the cultural businesses and how they're getting through this. But it's been a great job. I really enjoyed it.
Was it not a quote from Churchill back in the Second World War when they were kind of badgering them about shutting down theatres and shutting shows down? And I think it was something like, they need to keep going. Otherwise, what's it all for?
Oh, well, exactly.
And I think this is the exact same. What would we do without culture? What would I do without my records? What would I do without all of those people that have contributed to that over the years? It's like saying to the guy that's on my vinyl record that I put on, sorry, mate, you need to go and get another job.
Aye.
No way.
No, it's so important that we hold on. So if you're in the creative sectors, in fact, if you're in any sector, because this is challenging, just, we wish you all the support that we possibly can. But another great show tonight, Gary. It's been really humbling to see some of the organisations that have been mentioned, and I'm hoping my computer doesn't blow up when I play the end credits, which is going to be our Renfrewshire Stars.
Yeah, and please stay tuned, everyone. If you missed it earlier, you can catch us and catch up. But we're going to finish with this, and this is the whole roll call of the first thank you from Provost Lorraine Cameron. We've got a wee bit to go, Andy. Couple of minutes maybe to wash up, but we're going to show the roll call again. It's really humbling to be writing at our Paisley Community Trust. I think we started a wee while ago to see if we could make a difference in our community, and to see us amongst all those others who are most definitely making a difference in their community in the middle of this pandemic. So our personal thanks go out to all of those.
Absolutely. So stay tuned, folks, and we'll finish off with that. But before we do, Gary, as always, what's coming up next week?
Well, it's really unfortunate again that this pandemic has put a knife to the creative sector. And our showpiece event in Paisley is the Spree. The Spree is normally school week. Next week we'll be right in the middle of when Spree would have been, and we want to look back on previous Sprees, talk about events in general. I'm involved in a wee thing called Mod Stuff, want to talk about that. We've got something coming up that's quite special related to that. So it'll be everything related to the spree and mod stuff next week. So hopefully that floats a few people's boats. We'll maybe get Paul Weller on. Do you get a Paisley connection?
Fantastic. He wears a nice Paisley cravat.
The Paisley pattern's always in the scene.
That'll be good. Are we going to have live music, Gary? Are you working on that?
Of course. It might be live but recorded.
Right. We can manage that. We can do that.
That work for you?
I can press play on that type of stuff. That'd be good.
As long as we don't get with the police, the Facebook police.
I know, and I had to use a different tune tonight. Some folks might have recognised that it wasn't quite the Star Wars tune, but I didn't want George Lucas turning up in my door saying, "Hoi, Campbell, pack it in." I don't want to be. I don't want the Facebook police coming back at us again, Gary. So
we can't have that. So that's next week.
And virtual mod stuff, related stuff.
The spree and mod stuff. So I'm going to speak to the events team at the council, see if they've got some images, maybe some videos, maybe even get one of the events team on, talk about the spree. I'm looking forward to 2021. Without any expectation, I think we should be planning for fingers crossed, a good year next year. Let's get this damn thing behind us.
Absolutely. And just as a quick reminder, so that's next week is the 14th, Gary. But in 3 weeks' time, the 28th of October is our Halloween special.
Yes, looking forward to the Halloween special, and we're hoping that everyone that's tuned in tonight will tune in on Halloween. Get dressed up. Send us your pictures. If you're looking great, we'll get you on the screen. We'll get you on to have a chat about Halloween. We're going to have virtual duking for apples.
Looking forward to that one. Folks, it's been a pleasure as always. Thank you so much indeed for tuning in tonight. Gary, I think we're pretty much all done, are we not?
Yeah, that's been fantastic tonight, Andy. Roll the roll call. And from me, good night. Thanks for tuning in.
Good night, folks.